Rupam tasya gajamuri purim maturim goshtuvatim Radha kundamagirivaram aharadikamadvasam Prakto yasya praditipaya Sri Guru Tamnatu Gurave Gaurachandaya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hey Mamba Divyatstave Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa-pradaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vedaya Parana Lakshay Jivdasta Kamanitarangamati Krita Maita Sharanam Prabhana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Govinda Namo Naramadaveti Govinda Namo Naramadaveti Govinda Namo Naramadaveti Govinda Namo Naramadaveti Hey Krishna Hey Adava Hey Saketi Govinda Namo Naramadaveti Sham Sundar Shikandashi Smaha Suli Manora Radhikar Sukamama Kripanidhe Supriya Charna King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Na Jivami Tayavina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tam Namam Charanantikam First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudeva, Asmadiya Paramadhatma Guru Pada Padma, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ashtotara Satasissimad, Rupanugacharya Varya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev to Srila Prabhupada and all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vantakalpaturvasa Kripasana Pavna Vaishnava. So, by the causes mercy of Sri Gauranga Gauranga, by the causes mercy of Sri Gauranga Gauranga, we began yesterday to discuss the significance of the invocation verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the first verse, manifested through Srila Vyasadeva. Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarva Shray Pratishloke Prati Akshare Nana Artaka. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that as Krishna is Vibhu, Sarva Vyapi, that is all pervading and the greatest, and Sarv Ashray, he is the shelter of all existence. So similarly, Srimad-Bhagavatam is all powerful. The syllables of Srimad-Bhagavatam are imbued with Achintya Shakti. There is no comparison. Pratisloke, in every verse, Prati Akshare, in every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam, Nana Artakai. Mahaprabhu said there are many meanings. So, one of the angas of bhakti is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad described it. Srimad Bhagavatanam asvado rasikai saha. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam means to taste the many different layers of meaning in each verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the association of Rasik Vaishnavas. So yesterday we discussed how Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the deep, a lamp, to Arka, the sun, and to the mature fruit, full of rasa. The mature fruit of the desire tree of the Vedas. So, at the moment we are discussing those meanings of this verse, which are the adhyatma-dhipa, like the lamp, which gives transcendental knowledge of metaphysical principles, maya-tattva, jiva-tattva, bhagavad-tattva. So, it is said in the Garuda Purana, Arto yam Brahma-sutranam Bharatartha vinirnaya Gayatri basyaruposo Vedanta paribrahmitaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam Arto yam Brahma-sutranam explains the meaning of the sutras of Vedanta. Bharatartha vinirnaya, it ascertains what is the purpose of the Mahabharata. Gayatri basyarupa also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam there is an explanation of the Gayatri mantra. Vedanta paribrahmita. And it also explains the meaning of the Vedas. So, all these things you will find right here in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. This first verse is Gayatri Basya, also explaining. Each word of the Gayatri mantra is explained in this first verse. So at the moment, focusing on the level of adhyatma-dhipa, the lamp of transcendental knowledge, we're seeing how Srila Vyasadeva has explained the opening sutras of Vedanta Sutra in this verse. And yesterday, we more or less completed one line. So, at the end I'll test you. Not in the beginning. At the end of the class, I'll test you on yesterday's class. So I hope that you have done your homework. Now, we come to the second line. In the first line, it was established that Satyam Param Dhimahi. One should meditate on Janma Dyasya Yatan Vayaditarataschatesh Swarat. That Parabrahma, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of creation, maintenance and destructions of the world, who is described by the direct and indirect meanings of the Vedas, and who is the direct ingredient cause and instrumental cause of the universe, who is abhigya, omniscient, conscious, and swarat, independent, and self-effulgent. Now someone may argue, but wait a minute, I heard that Chaturmukha Brahma, Lord Brahma is the creator of the universe. So why are you saying that it's Bhagavan Sri Krishna? So then, the answer comes in the second line. No. Brahma, he cannot independently create the universe. But rather the knowledge which he had, by which he performed the secondary creation, it came from the Supreme Lord. In fact, all the knowledge of Brahma was inspired in his heart. So now the line comes, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Means, Tene, he imparted. Brahma, here the word Brahma means the Vedas. Tene Brahma, that Supreme Lord, Tene Brahma, imparted or expanded. Tandatu in Sanskrit means to expand. He expanded the Vedic knowledge. Hridaya, through the heart, Adi Kavaye, of the original Kavi. Kavi means a learned person. So here Adi Kavaye means Lord Brahma. So, someone may argue, it is well known that Lord Brahma did not study from anyone. In answer, here Srimad-Bhagavatam says yes, he did not sit down and study with anyone. But rather, in his meditation, the Supreme Lord revealed Tane Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, revealed it into his heart. Someone may say, well, it may not be necessary for anyone to reveal this knowledge in the heart. Brahma could have realized it by himself. To which Vyasadeva is answering here. No. Muyanti yat suraya. Here, Muyanti means they are bewildered. Who? Suraya. Suraya means, it can mean the devotees or it means the demigods. So, but to speak of human beings, even the higher beings, even the demigods, even Lord Brahma, yet, in regard to that absolute truth, Muyanti yat suraya, they are bewildered. And therefore, the only way that anyone will come to know that reality is Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. That he himself reveals the Vedic knowledge in the heart of Brahma, and then Brahma becomes Guru and teaches the other Devatas. And in this way, gradually, transcendental knowledge comes down. So, this is, where are our pens? Black pen. So, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya. This line, can you just write there 113? 113. It's another commentary on, yeah, up to Surya, the whole line, yes. It's another commentary on 113. Why? Because the Vedanta Sutra 113 says Shastra Yonitvat, has two meanings. One, Brahma, the absolute truth, is knowable only through the Vedas. So this says that even the great powerful demigods, they are bewildered. And they can know the truth, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi, when the Lord reveals the Vedas to them. So the Lord is known only through the Vedas, otherwise everyone is bewildered. Therefore, Shastra Yonitvat, from the Vedas one can know Brahma. Then the other meaning of Shastra Yonitvat is that the Lord himself is the Yoni, he is the source of the Vedas. So that is described here. Tene Brahma Ridya Adi. The Lord Himself is revealing the Vedas to Lord Brahma. So, both meanings of the third sutra of Vedanta are expressed here in this one line. Now, the 16th sutra of Vedanta, that is Etena Netaro Nupapatate. Etena Netaro Nupapatate. It means that this sutra is a reference to the Shruti mantra Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. This is a very important thing to understand. Each sutra of Vedanta is commenting on some famous passage from the Upanishads. And so this particular sutra is commenting on Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That Brahma, the absolute truth, is Satyam, eternal, Jnanam, fully conscious, full of knowledge. That knowledge is also Satyam, it's eternal knowledge. And that knowledge is Anantam, also unlimited. So Brahman is unlimited, his knowledge is unlimited, and his knowledge has no beginning or end because it's eternal. So, some persons try to establish that Parabrahma, that the truth, the supreme truth, is us, the jiva. So that's commonly known as Mayavad philosophy or impersonalism. So if a person argues that, that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that supreme truth, who is eternal, conscious and unlimited, that's us. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman. We're all Brahman. So it's a very popular idea. So this is being refuted in the Sutra of Vedanta 16, where it said, Etena netaro nupapatate. Anupapatate means inappropriate or inconsistent. So the meaning of the sutra is, a jiva, a soul, is not described by the mantra Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, because that would be inconsistent. So, why would it be inconsistent to say that the mantra Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma refers to a jiva? Why is it inconsistent? The Sutra of Vedanta says it's inconsistent to say that this mantra Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma refers to a soul, a jiva. So why is it inconsistent?
I'm just guessing, but because the verses, the sutras have to be understood in the sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we said at the beginning, Janmadya Sayataha, we're speaking about that from which everything emanates. So I am not that from which everything emanates.
Yes.
This cannot refer to me as individual soul.
Yes, that's a very important point. If you take, because impersonalists, they generally take the sutras out of context and then make it say what they want it to say. But Tribhanga Prabhu is pointing out that, wait, there's a flow here, starting from the beginning. So to try to introduce the jiva into the picture, when at the beginning it was said that Brahma has manifested, created everything. Because they have some tricky way to get out of that as well, by saying that yes, it's all the creation of your mind. It's all in your mind. So they have a way, but it's a bit slippery, it's not very convincing. So that's a very good point. But here specifically, in regard to the mantra, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, how can we say that our knowledge is Ananta, unlimited? How can we say that our knowledge is eternal? If you have eternal knowledge, that means that you are always enlightened since time with no beginning. Then why are you studying Vedanta to become enlightened? Therefore, this sutra, Etena netaro nupapatate, means it is inappropriate to say that the jiva is referred to in this Shruti mantra Because the jivas are in ignorance and they try to become enlightened. And even if they become enlightened, you still can't say when they're enlightened they realize that they're Brahman. But because before they were enlightened, their knowledge was not unlimited and it was not eternal. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So that sutras, Etena Netro Nupapatate, it's inappropriate to say that the jiva is Brahma, is explained in this line. Why? Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Bhuyanti Atsuraya. Because out of all the jivas in the universe, the most qualified one, right? When the universe is manifest, the jiva who is most qualified out of everyone in the universe gets the top post to be Lord Brahma. And even that Brahma, what to speak of other demigods, they're all bewildered. And the only way they become unbewildered is when the Supreme Lord initiates the flow of knowledge through the parampara by inspiring the heart of Lord Brahma, and then it comes down through time. And therefore, that this line, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Bhuyanti Atsuraya, is an elaborate explanation of Sutra 16 of Vedanta, which says it's inappropriate to say that the jiva is referred to as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Why? Because Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Hridaya Bhuyanti Atsuraya. Because all the jivas are bewildered, completely bewildered, and the only way they get knowledge is Brahma is inspired and then the parampara begins. So that is how this line Bhuyanti Atsuraya is also a commentary on, you can write it there, 1116. Add that to the... So, here, this is also related in the first line to abhigya, because on the one hand, all the highest beings in the universe, Bhuyanti Atsuraya, they are bewildered, but the Lord from which everything comes is abhigya. He is completely omniscient. And therefore the abhigya person gives knowledge to the Bhuyanti, those who are bewildered. It's very clear and straightforward. The jivas are bewildered and Supreme Lord is in knowledge and He imparts knowledge to them. Now, come to the next line. Tejo vari mridam yata vinmayo yata trisagom risha. Tejo means light or fire. Vari means water. Mridam means earth. So fire, water, earth, these are the three of the prominent, the Pancha Mahabhuts, the five prominent elements. Jata means just as. Vinimayo can mean by mixing together, by combination, or by exchange. Yatra, there, in the creation, which is a Trisarga. Trisarga, there are three aspects of creation. So, Trisarga can refer to three gunas, or it can refer to the three worlds, the upper, middle and lower planetary systems. Now, as Madhumangal Prabhu brought up yesterday, here's the word Mrisha. So Mrisha means false. But because of the phonetic combination of Sanskrit here, the word can either be Mrisha or Amrisha, false or not false. So Srila Vishnu Thakur and our Srila Prabhupada, they translate, taking it as by the meaning Mrisha, false. But Jiva Goswami, he takes the meaning Amrisha, not false. So we'll look at that first. First we'll take the word to be Amrisha, not false. Then the meaning becomes this, that Yatra Trisarga, the universe, which has three levels, upper planetary system, lower planetary system, and middle planetary system, is real. Just as one can make things vinimayo by the combination of fire, water and earth. So a person gets some water and earth and mixes them together. Like you get some some clay and some water, you mix them, and then you make a pot, and then you put it in the fire, and you fire it in the kiln, and now you've made a pot. So, just as real objects are made from their constituent elements, as we see in daily life, so similarly the Supreme Lord has manifested this world, and the world is real. This is the general meaning. Taking the word Amrisha, the world is Amrisha, not false. Now, why is this relevant? The reason it's relevant is because impersonalists say that the world does not exist. What actually exists? Only the light of Brahman. And so now we're looking and we're seeing the world, and what we're actually doing is we are superimposing, due to ignorance, form, shape and characteristics, when actually only Brahman exists. It is a rope or an adhyasita. We're doing adhyas, the superimposition, the rope. Due to our own ignorance, we're superimposing some idea of the world onto Brahman, which is only the one light. So the example that the impersonalists give is just like a person mistakes a rope for a snake. Let's say in the dark you're walking and you see there's a rope hanging from a tree and you become fearful, thinking, oh, there's a snake there, don't go there. So actually there's no snake there at all. The idea that there's a snake there is a superimposition of your mind due to ignorance. So impersonalists try to explain the world in that way, that it's all an illusion, and out of ignorance we're just superimposing the world onto Brahman. So, the problem with this example is that mistaking the rope to be a snake depends on a similarity. Why? Because a rope the shape of a rope is similar to the shape of a snake. And because of that similarity, therefore you can make a mistake. Now, how would it be possible to look on the light of Brahman and mistake it for, whatever, Zurich, right? Or Berlin, right? What's the similarity between the endless, non-differentiated, peaceful, nirakar, shapeless, formless, qualityless Brahman and Berlin? So how you make the mistake?
Especially if your knowledge is eternal and...
Especially if your knowledge is eternal and endless, yes. Yeah. So, and if you say, well, no, they're similar in certain ways, so then you'd have to explain why it doesn't happen. If people can accidentally mistake Brahman for Berlin, why don't they also mistakenly mistake Berlin for Brahman as well? It should work both ways, right? Because if you can mistake a rope for a snake, you could mistake a snake for a rope as well. It works both ways. So, but we don't see people walking around and then suddenly thinking, wow, I'm in the Nirvishesh Brahman. No, you just got off the train in Berlin. So people don't do that. So, the idea that the world is adhyas is a wrong idea. So that is explained in this line of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Just as a person combines elements to make real objects, so in the same way, by the actions of the three modes of material nature, the Supreme Lord creates a world which is Amrisha, it's not false. The only thing that's false is our identification with a particular portion of it. This particular body that we have is one part of that creation, but we're identifying with it and thinking that it's me. And therefore, our vision becomes very narrow and from one perspective. And we become greedy and so on, and neglect other persons because we're thinking that they're their bodies as well. And like this. So that state of confusion is illusion, but the world itself is Amrisha, it's not false. So now, we'll take it the other way. Let's take it the way that Srila Prabhupada and Srila Vishwanath Thakur have taken the word Mrisha, meaning false. here, Mrisha means that the world is false in the sense that Tejova Mani Mridam, just Vinimayo, that the qualities of the elements appear to exchange with each other. For example, when there's a very hot sun, the heat of the sun, that is Teja, looks like water, there's a mirage. Or, water appears like earth. If you see in the distance some mist on the ocean, you think you're approaching land, so water appears like earth. Or, ice is actually water, but you may see a block of ice and think it's a crystal. So you think that ice is actually earth. Water is earth. Or earth may appear like water. For example, glass. Transparent glass can give the illusion that there's water there to an ignorant person. And therefore, the Mrisha means that one falsely thinks. One mistakes one thing for another. That is, even though the objects of the world are temporary and you are not related with them, but the Mrisha, you falsely think that you are related with them, and falsely, though everyone says yes, everything is temporary, but they never act like that. You know? The Yaksha asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, what is the most amazing thing? Yeah? And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the most amazing thing is that everyone sees, my grandfather died, my great-grandfather died, my great-great-grandfather died, my father died, but I will live forever. I will not die. So everyone is thinking like that, mistaking that which is real but temporary to have an eternal sthiti, situation, to be substantial in an eternal sense. Now, another meaning here is that when a person in this world sees the deity of Krishna or hears about Krishna, see Krishna's body in his deity form or his own Swarup is Sachidananda, actually eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But one who is affected by illusion, Tejo vari mridamyata vinimyo yatra trisagom mrisha, they falsely think that the form of Krishna is a combination of the three gunas and a combination of the elements water, fire and earth. So it says, Shila dir, Gurushu Naramati, Vaishnava Jati Buddhi, one who thinks that the deity is made of stone, in other words, a transformation of earth. He has a hellish mentality. Like that. So that's another meaning of this line. Tejo vari mridamyata vinimyo yatra tisagomrisha. Either the world is real and it's created by the Lord, or we perceive the world falsely. Or we mistake the transcendental form of the Supreme Truth to be a product of the gunas, just like the worldly things we see around us. So now, Srila Jiva Goswami comments that in the 7th canto, Yudhishthira Maharaj heard that Jayan Vijay fell from Vaikuntha to the material world. And when he heard this, he said, oh, but Narad, that's impossible. So many people think that the souls have come from the spiritual world. But directly in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Yudhishthira Maharaj, an eternal associate of the Lord, said, wait a minute, Narad, that's impossible. So what reason did Yudhishthira Maharaj give that it's impossible? So the answer he gave is, Dehendriyasu hinanam Vaikuntha Puravasinam. Vaikuntha Puravasis. The residents of Vaikuntha, Dehendriyasu hinanam, they don't have material bodies and senses. That means they have bodies and they have senses which are transcendental. And that which is transcendental of the internal potency, it cannot be covered by the external potency, because it's eternal and perfect and self-effulgent. So, therefore, it's impossible for someone from the spiritual world to fall down here. 7.135. Dehendriyasu hinanam vaikunta puravasinam. It's a very famous verse and it's an important verse, because also impersonalist Mayavadis say when you become mukta, liberated, moksha, nirvana, then you're just mixed with the endless light and become one. But Srimad-Bhagavatam is saying no. Dehendriyasu hinanam vaikunta puravasinam. In the liberated state, you will have a spiritual body and spiritual senses. And therefore, the situation of bhakti, serving the Lord in your divine swarup, is an eternal situation for those who arrive in Vaikuntha and for those who newly arrive and those who have always been there. That is their sthiti, their eternal situation. So, the argument here is kaimutik nyaya. That is, that if the residents of Vaikuntha have spiritual bodies and spiritual senses, then what to speak of the Supreme Lord? He has spiritual body and senses, because that is, their liberation is called Sarupya, Salokya, and so on. So they have forms like the Lord, they live on the same planet as the Lord, they participate in the same opulences of the Lord. So if they have spiritual bodies and senses, the Lord also has spiritual body and senses. Now we come to the fourth line. Damna svrina sada nirastakokam satyam param dhimahi. Most wonderful. The meaning of this line is, I just want to say something about the nature of commenting on verses of Shastra, especially Srimad-Bhagavatam. That when you read a verse, when you're interpreting a verse, you should understand that each line is like the answer to a question that was raised by the previous line. In other words, the verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam, they hint to us that they're open-ended conversations. So each verse is unlimited because each verse is an open-ended conversation. That the previous verse or situation raises a question, and then now in the first line that's being answered, but that gives rise to another question, which is then answered in the next part, perhaps of the same line, and so on. And so in this way, the commentators, always when they look at a line, first they think, what is this the answer to? And then they pose the question. You see? That's the method. So, and this applies all the way through, whether we're discussing the adhyatma-dhipa or whether we're discussing rasa-tattva. For example, you take a verse of Gopi Gita. Pranata dehinam papakarshanam trinacharanugam sriniketanam panipanapitam te padambujam krindukucheshuna krindiricchayam. Gopis are telling Krishna, oh, don't hide in the forest. Come and be with us. Come and place your hand on our head. So then, the first line comes, Pranata dehinam papakashanam, means if a living entity bows down to God, then all of his sins are destroyed. So here the acharyas say, the gopis were thinking in separation that Krishna is saying, no, I'm not coming back to you. I'm not going to come and put my hand on your head or associate you in any way. Because that will be sinful. Because you're married to others. So I should meet with you alone in the forest at night. Etc., etc. That's the question, you see. So the acharyas first identify the question, and then the first line of the verse is the answer. Pranata dehinam papakasha. Oh Krishna, we have heard that Gargacharya said, Tasman Nandatmajo Yamte Narayana Samo Gunai. Oh Nanda Maharaj, your son will have qualities like Lord Narayan. So the quality of Lord Narayan is that if anyone bows down to him, all his sins go away. So if you have a quality like that if someone bows down to you, all their sins go away, then what is the question of any sin coming to you? So Krishna at once comes. Panatadeinam papakashanam trinacharanugam. Oh Krishna, you follow after the cows in the forest. So in the end of the verse, gopis are saying, Krindi Richtayam, tear this pain of lust from our hearts by placing your lotus feet on our breast. So then Krishna may say, but gopis, your breasts are very hard, very rough. My lotus feet may be injured. So then gopis are saying, no, Trinacharanugam. Krishna, what are you talking about? The cows, you follow after the cows who eat grass. That means the cows have hooves. So they don't stick to the path in the forest. They can, because they have hard hooves, they go anywhere. So they leave the path and the cows go marching over the brambles. And because you're Trinacharanugam, you follow the cows. Therefore with your bare feet you go running through the brambles after the cows. So how can you say that if you place your lotus feet on our breast, you'll be injured by that? Trinacharanugam. Or the meaning is that Trinachara means those who graze on the grass. You are Anuga, right? You know, Anuga means following. So you can have Rupanuga, following Rupa Goswami. You can have Raganuga, following Rag. But what is Krishna? Trinacharanuga. That means he's a cow follower. In other words, when Krishna says, oh my dear gopis, but if I come and meet with you, then sins will come to me. Gopis say, oh, you are a cow follower. Cows that, four-legged animals are not so bright. And now you've become their follower. So I think that you've lost all your vivek, all your discrimination. You've become like them. So then, Krishna said, but how can I keep my lotus feet upon your heart? Because you are decorated with so many garlands and jewels and I shouldn't put my feet there. So then gopis say, no. Sriniketanam. Your lotus feet are the abode of all beauty. So that which is beautiful should associate with that which is beautiful. Right? You see? Yasya satsangati pungsa manivasya satadgunai. That one should swakula dhyaitato dhiman sayuta neva sangsrayat. Because you take on the qualities of the person you associate with, therefore you should associate with your own yuta, your own group, your own caste. So if someone wants to be a great Kshatriya, don't hang around with the sutras. Right? If you want to be a Kshatriya, you associate with the great Kshatriyas, you become great like them. So each person should associate with his own youth, his own group, so that his sakula adhyay means for your own dynasties to flourish, so that your dynasty will flourish and be successful, associate within your own group. This is what the verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is saying. So here, gopis are saying, Sriniketanam, your lotus feet are so beautiful, our breast is so beautiful. Your lotus feet, they are pinkish, sham color, and also white. How? They are sham color on the top, they are pinkish on the bottom, and your toenails are like moons. Like that. So our breast is pinkish on the top because they smear kumkum on the top. Blackish on the bottom because they put kasturi on the bottom, because it soaks up the perspiration. Oh, it's also very fragrant. And they decorate in the middle with white dots of chandan, like that. So your lotus feet are black, white and red, and our chest is black, white and red. So Those who are similar, they should associate together. Sriniketanam. This is the meaning. You see? So this is how the acharyas, when they look at scripture, the commentary means to look at it and see, this statement is the answer, but what's the question? And then it becomes like the compressed file of a whole conversation. And in this way, because Shastra is transcendental and unlimited, then different Vaishnavas, in accordance with the depth of their realization and the inspiration when they chant the holy name, they discover newer and newer conversations within the same verse every day. Huh? Beautiful. So then Krishna said, but wait a minute. You said, Krindirikshayam, take away the lust from our hearts. That means that your breast is burning hot. If I put my feet there, I may get burnt. So then gopis give the answer. Wait a minute. Kaliya was fire and poison was coming out of all the heads of Kaliya, and you didn't hesitate to keep your feet there. Huh? So yes, we may be feeling heat, we may be hot, but there's not fire and poison coming out. So panipanapitam te padambujam. So then Krishna said, but look, if your husbands find out, I'll be in big trouble. If your husbands find out, then I'll be in big trouble. So gopis say, panipanapitam, you danced on the head of Kaliya. If you can beat up these big serpents, then what about our feeble husbands? You can beat them as well. So, I'm just making a little digression so that we can have some idea. How do we relate with Shastra? Shastra is alive and dynamic. It's not static, it's not still. It's not static, it's ecstatic. Full of transcendental ecstasies. So our acharyas, because their hearts, ruchi bicha chitamasrinya, because their hearts are completely melted, when the heart is touched by any verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, then it creates waves of realization. But when our heart is hard, it's not melted, then when the Shastra touches us, it kind of bounces off. Boom. Like that. We're not moved. But as we go on doing sadhana, heart becomes soft, then any word, any verse of Shastra will just like dropping a stone in a pond, it will make so many waves going, and more waves going out, spreading out. So, the question here is, now, so many conclusions have been given in the first line, in the second line, in the third line. So now we're coming to the fourth line of the first verse. And the question is this. We have heard from you so many conclusions, but what about this? And but what about that? And someone can give so many arguments and counter-arguments to try to oppose what has been established in the first three lines. So then Vyasadeva, he gives his conclusion. Tamna swena sada nirasta kvakam satyam param dimai. Beautiful. Dhamna means light, effulgence, power. It's in the instrumental case, it means by the light, by the effulgence, by the power. Dham, as you know, means abode as well, like Vrindavan Dham, Navadvip-Dham. It means splendor and glory. Namaste stu damne spuradiptidam. I pay obeisance to the robe which is the diptidamne, it's just effulgent. And the abode of all glory. So here, Dhamna means all of these things, power, light, splendor, glory, abode. So by that light, by that glory, Swena. Swena means, also in the instrumental case, it means by his own abode, by his own light, his own effulgence. Or Swena can also mean unique. Dhamna Swena Sada. Sada means eternal, everlasting. kuakam. Some damna swena sada nirasta. The word nirasta means dispelled or refuted. So what is dispelled and refuted? The kuaka. Kuaka means deception. Just like gopis in Gopi Gita. Kuaka no mana kasya jendrish. They say, Krishna, you are kuaka. You are deceiver. So here kuaka means deceit or illusion, deception. So kuakam nirasta. Nirasta kuakam means all deception, all illusion is completely dispelled by what? Dhamna swena sada, by his own unique eternal effulgence, abode and influence. So, this is an explanation of Vedanta Sutra. Take your pen, put it there, last line, 2:1:11. Dhamna swena sada nirasta kukam, 2:1:11. Yeah. So, this is a very famous sutra, Tarako Pratishtanat. Tarako Pratishtanat. Tarka means logic, reason. And Apratishtanat, Apratishta means without foundation. So Apratishtanat means because, it's in the ablative case indicating because. Because logic has no foundation. That means you can't logically establish anything. You can't prove anything by logic. Now modern people, they very much repelled by that idea. Because they pride themselves in being rational and logical, and they think that by their rationale and their logic they can solve everything. But it's also, I think, the only thing that you can actually establish by logic is that you can't establish anything by logic. That's probably the only thing. It's a bit of a contradiction. But what we mean to say is that when you look at anything, you see something, but you don't see the entirety of its context. So let's call the thing that you see is the content of your perception. So whatever is the content of your perception exists within a context, but that context is outside the circumference of your vision. It's beyond your perceptual horizon. For example, let's say I'm just looking at you right now. Right? I'm seeing you right now. But I don't know what happened to you 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Right? Then you have a life before that as well. Even you don't know what happened to you in the previous life and the life before that. So there's a context going in the past, that you're looking at something and you can't see the past context. Neither can you see the future context. You cannot see that which is very minute. Well, what are you even made of? Are you made of atoms? Is everything made of atoms? 5th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam says the concept of the atom is kalpana, imagination. Maybe we'll discuss that later, on Friday or something. So it's very interesting. So when we look at something, we can't even ascertain what it is on the micro level. And the very big things also we can't see. So whether it's the context of time in the past and the future, or the micro or the macro level, we're seeing our content is something very localized. And it's context by which it actually gains meaning. We can't see that. Because you have to understand that meaning, this word meaning, we use it a lot. But we should think about what is the meaning of meaning. Meaning is a relationship between a content and its context. For example, your teeth If they're separated, if they're taken out of the context of your mouth, they have no meaning anymore. What will they do? When they're connected to you, oh, they're for chewing. Like that. Just like a mirror. If there's a mirror above your windscreen of your car, right? If you just take the mirror out, well, what's that? But when it's connected with the context of the object, oh, it's to see behind you when you're reversing or whatever like that. So every individual thing has a meaning depending on its context. Words are like that. Objects are like that. Just like, take the word good. What does the word good mean? It's positive, right? So then put it in context. Put it next to another word like bye. Goodbye. Is that positive? Huh? You have to say goodbye to the person you love. Is that positive? Right? So it's, what does it mean? So the meaning of everything depends on the context that it's in. So because we cannot see we see an immediate thing, but we cannot see an intermediate or ultimate context of anything. Therefore, when we logically try to analyze something, we actually superimpose a context or lack of context in order to create meaning. Because meaning is a relation with the context. And so what we do is, in every situation, we project meaning onto something by creating our own context or lack of context for it. For example, many people today think life is meaningless because the context of everything is it all came, the Big Bang, it just popped out of nothing. So because they propose the context is nothing, therefore the meaning ends up being nothing. Huh? But that Big Bang, no one who was around, did you see the creation of the universe? Did anyone see what really happened? Like that. So what they're actually doing is injecting meaning or the lack of meaning by the superimposition of a context which is actually beyond their perception. And so what logic is you try to build up an argument, you try to prove something, but you always assume a context. And if someone else comes along and assumes another context, he can make your argument dissolve. And because no one can say for sure, because our senses are limited, because no one can say for sure what the context of everything is, everyone can propose a different context and thus make another person's statement meaningless. You see? And this is why Shastra says, Tarko Pratishtahanat. This is Vedanta Sutra. Tarko Pratishtahanat. Jiva Goswami actually, in Paramatma Sandarbha, gives some example. Let's say one logician comes along and said, there must be a God who created the world. There must be. Why? Because all the things that we see around us were made by someone. Right? Does anyone think this just, there was just some iron in the ground and it's, by chance, after a long time, it became this cup with a handle and a lid. No one thinks like that. No one would ever propose that. So one logician says that actually there must be a creator God because all the things we see which are organized intelligently have a creator behind them. But then another logician comes along and that logician says, well, who said that the world was ever created anyway? Maybe the whole universe is eternal. So if we posit the context that the world always existed, then that completely does away with the need for a creator. Right? This is one of the arguments that Buddhists make. There are different kinds of Buddhists, like Madhyamic Buddhists and Yogacara Buddhists and so on. So one of the things, no need to talk about creation because everything's just going on and it always was. Like that, you see? So then another person comes along and posits another context. He says, well, look, if you do pious activities, you can get in a higher and higher position. Right? So let's say you do some yagyas, you can go to heaven and become Indra. Let's say you follow Varnashram Dharma perfectly for 100 lifetimes without making any serious mistake. You can become Brahma. You can become Lord Brahma. So who is there to refute my argument that some jiva did so many pious activities that he developed the mystic power to create the universe. And therefore the world wasn't made by a god, it was just made by a jiva like us who's super pious. Come on, someone refute my argument. You see, each person is refuting each other's argument not by dealing with the content, but just by proposing a different context. And then the content of the previous argument becomes meaningless, and so on. So there are, someone can propose a logical argument, and someone can show the fault in that and refute it by showing the internal faults. That's one thing, right? That's one way of arguing. But when it comes to trying to understand the ultimate truth, it's just a question of one person presents a context, another person presents another context, and no one can establish anything because whatever the context is, it's beyond our perception. And therefore Vedanta is giving the conclusion, Taka Pratishtanat. Now, this last line of the Srimad-Bhagavatam is a commentary on that sutra, Tako Pratishtanat. Logic is without substance or foundation. Why? Because the effulgence, Dhamna Swena, the Supreme Lord's own effulgence, Nirastakokam, dispels all illusion and all deception. In other words, all this type of addiction to logic is itself illusion and deception because it doesn't lead anywhere. It's insubstantial. But when the devotee has a spurti, a realization of the Dhamna Swena, the unique, wonderful, divine effulgence and Dham of the Lord within his heart, then all the tendencies for logic, argument and so on, they're all dispelled and exposed as being insubstantial. And therefore, because logic is insubstantial, the only way to come to the conclusion is realization. The Dhamna Swena Sada Ninastakokam, all illusion, all false. Here Kurka can mean logical arguments. All false logical arguments are dispelled at that time when you attain realization, Dhamna Swena, of the effulgent form and abode of the Lord. Therefore, Satyam Param Dhimahi. The method of inquiry is not logic and reason, but the method of inquiry, Atata Brahma Jigyasa, is actually Satyam Param Dhimahi, meditation on the Supreme Truth. That's the method of inquiry. The method of inquiry is not an endless philosophical debate, which will lead nowhere. You see? So in this way, the last line, Dhamna Swena Sada Nirastakokam Satyam Param Dhimahi, explains Vedanta Sutra, Tako Pratishtanat and Atato Brahma Jigyasa. 111. I come back. Interesting. You see, when Vyasadeva takes his pen, or rather he tells Ganesh to take his pen, and begins to dictate to him, it's not lagu, it's not something lightweight. It's extremely profound and the topmost cream of all philosophy. Vedanta means the end conclusion of all knowledge. It's the cream of all philosophy, expressed eloquently, artistically, and meticulously and accurately, precisely. This is the standard of the You can imagine if the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam is like this, what is the rest of Srimad-Bhagavatam like? So, I will stop there for today.
But what about the third line? It is a commentary on which verse of the Vedanta Sutra?
The third line, that is not a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, necessarily. It could be in the sense, yesterday we were discussing, and we had some inspirations through that discussion, how many other sutras are there. Also, for example, Atma-krite Parinamat, very famous sutra. This sutra of Vedanta is famous. Atma-krite Parinamat means that the existence comes by the parinam, the transformation of Atma. Here Atma means Bhagavan, Supreme. like Nayam Atma Pravachanain Labhya. Atma in Upanishadic language often refers to God. Sometimes not, you will have to see. By the context, is it Atma or Paramatma? But Atma Krite Parinamat means that the world is the transformation of Atma, God himself. So that's the sutra is famous because Shankaracharya said, Vyasadeva has made a mistake. This is the sutra that Shankaracharya said, Vyasa has made a mistake. And the reason is because everywhere in the Vedas it said that Brahman, the Supreme Truth, is immutable. It never transforms. It never does parinam, transformation. So how can the world be a transformation of that Brahman, of that Supreme Atma? So we know the answer is that this Atma has Shakti, which is non-different from his Swarup. And it's the Shakti of Krishna which transforms and creates, manifests the spiritual world and the material worlds, while his own Swarup remains, it remains immutable, unchangeable. And so, Atma Krite Parinamat is true, and also the statements that say the Supreme Truth is immutable and never changes is also true. But Shankaracharya, it wasn't his service to teach Achincha Beda Beda Tattva, that the Supreme Lord is inconceivably different and non-different from his Shakti. And so he has criticized Vyasadeva on that sutra. But we could say that sutra is also explained here by what? Anvayad itaratas cha. Meaning, Anvayad, the Supreme Lord himself, is the direct ingredients of the world, itaracha, and he is not the direct ingredient of the world. Because while his Shakti transforms and becomes the world, his Swarup, itaracha, remains unchanged, like that. So we could say, I could look up the number, Atma Krite Parinamat, we could put that number there as well. So perhaps you're asking about the third line. So that third line could also be explanation of Atma Krite Parinamat. Because it says that it's in illusion that his body is made of the gunas. No, his Swarup remains eternal. But his Shakti, Tejo Vari Mridamyata, his separated energies create the world and it's real. Like that. So in this way, perhaps you could give many sutras. But this is according to Jiva Goswami and Vishnu Thakur in their different commentaries. I have given these predominantly because it's the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, so they've focused on the opening sutras of Vedanta also. Then you may be thinking, let me see, should I stop here because I don't want to overload everyone? Yeah, I'll stop here. I'll tell you, you may be thinking that the third line is kind of redundant then as a commentary. But no, why? Gayatri Basya Rupa Oso Vedata Paribrimnita. Srimad-Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Gayatri Mantra. Now you may know that the Gayatri Mantra is the mother of all the Vedas. So this is your homework. Before tomorrow, your homework is each word of the Gayatri Mantra. Om, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha, Tat, Savitur. Every word of Gayatri Mantra is explained in this first verse. So your homework is to try to find out which word or which group of words or which line of this first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam is explaining which word of the Brahma-Gayatri. Okay, that's your homework. Guru Premanande Hari Hari Bol.